what made us stupid at the beginning, and how did you overcome it?
As a beginner and how I overcame it. What challenge did I face?
What made us stupid at the beginning, and how did you overcome it?
As a beginner and how I overcame it. What challenge did I face? I would say actually, so I wasn't too bad when it came to software side of things, in the sense of where I was relatively good at following instructions and having that level of detail to be able to fit the brief. But I would say, if I take the beginner question as someone that's like, rather than starting fresh, but say the kind of situation that some people might be watching this, which is they're on the verge of getting their foot in the door kind of situation, or they may have literally just managed that. I'd say for me, the biggest challenge that I found going into industry work was having the confidence to ask questions when I didn't get things straight away. Because I think sometimes there can be this illusion that you need to have all the answers from the get-go. And I think this same mentality can also extend even before you get into industry work, but it's having that mindset of being okay with saying to someone that I don't quite know what I'm doing, or I don't understand how to do this thing, and they may have even explained it to you already. But trusting yourself that it's okay to have that vulnerability, because when you ask that question to the right person, they will give you patience and they will sit and they'll explain to you how to do something. And if that method isn't working, then if they're a good person to learn from, they'll show you a different way. And then eventually you find a way where you both understand and you learn. So for me, it was having that comfort zone broken to actually trust people and know that it's okay to almost do the opposite of that thing that everyone says, which is like, oh, you know, you got to fake it till you make it. It's actually having the confidence to step back and go, no, I need to actually admit that I don't know things to progress further, rather than pretending to know the answers all the time.
What motivated you to it me and other?
I remember being at the point of my learning journey where I started to access people that were, I think exclusive is not the right word to use, but hard to reach people. So when I got into my first VFX company and started working on shows, I remember thinking to myself, after being immersed amongst students for so long, wanting to get their shot in the industry, I remember from a young age telling myself that if I managed to make it and I did work on a project, it didn't matter the caliber, but just got my skills good enough to be paid professionally for it, I knew I wanted to give back to help continue that chain of people that want to get their foot in the door, whether it's for an industry job, or even just they want to excel creatively, if they just want to make like really cool stuff in their own time as a hobby. So I think reminding myself where I came from, and even now, like, I'll still talk to my university that I graduated from, and recently I did a workshop there, kind of thing. It's always that mentality of like, I'm so grateful for the people that gave their time and energy to me to get me to where I am today with everything I know, and still have an awareness that I have many things to learn. So it really is just doing my bit to give back and keep that chain going.
What do you know about having new artists?
I think for me, it's seeing the transition of someone who had a certain starting point and spending enough time with them to watch the growth of them start to understand concepts that they originally seemed more alien, and watching them become more comfortable with using certain terminology that perhaps went over their head to start with and they didn't understand. So for me, it's a mixture of, if I have the privilege to work with them for a long period of time to see that growth, or if I don't and it's just that single moment I get to spend with them, it's that tiny moment when you're explaining something they don't understand, and then all of a sudden something just clicks in their head, and seeing that light up in their face, or you hear it within their voice. That for me is always such a joyful thing to experience, because you feel like you were able to help them unlock something in themselves and give them the momentum to take that knowledge and to go further and explore more.
We have a Facebook in modern group. How is it going?
I'd say it's going good. It's had a little bit of a dip from when work was a little bit too busy with me, and some personal issues that interfered with um, putting my full energy into it. So for anyone like yourself that's been a long time member of the group, have seen points when it's definitely been more active and it's gotten a bit quieter. But I would say at the moment, the nice part with the break that I've taken is it's given me a good step back to think, what content can I provide people in the group that will still allow them to grow and to continue to make it feel like this nice, safe environment for people to share their projects no matter what stage they're at. And I think it's going in the right direction of what I want, which is to allow people to be okay with sharing the journey, like the whole journey of a model. Because I think Facebook, along with other social media platforms, there is this pressure to feel like we have to show things when they're really shiny and done and finished and polished, and we can't share the work in progress because that's almost, it's not glamorized. Whereas the Facebook group especially is a place that I cultivate and encourage people, share the work in progress, share the screw ups, share the parts where it goes wrong, reach out to people when you get stuck, because while they're not celebrated in a weird way as much as the final project, but you actually learn way more being in that work in progress stage and being in that questioning stage and asking for feedback, or even just going, hey, I got this far, and you just want people to celebrate that you're continuing to do something really cool with your own time. So I would say I'm really excited for the next wave of what's going to come from this space. And if I can get it to where I want it to, it's going to be a really cool space to engage in for 3D modeling and other 3D artists.
What was the outcome of the game?
I did run challenges within the 3D modeling community Facebook group for artists to submit, and I was running those for a while, but I found the particular approach that I did those in for the time I had available, it wasn't sustainable in the long term. However, with a little bit of reflection, I think they're going to be making a comeback pretty soon, probably within the next month or two, and to make them a little bit more open so people can really kind of have their own spin on it and get very creative with the briefs, rather than before, which they were good, and I'm very happy because you yourself, you contributed to quite a few, and it was absolutely lovely seeing your work. So I'm really looking forward to rebooting those again in a way where there's enough time for myself to create a really fun brief for everyone to go into, but then also to make them to put the structure in a nice way where people feel like they also have the time dedicated to actually enter into these competitions, because it goes both ways. You know, as much as I want to make them cool and I want to make them consistently, I need to make sure that however the competitions and challenges are structured, they also are good for artists to be able to fit into their schedules and their lives.
What inspired you out of
So the super generic answer would probably be life, but I'm aware that's a very vague answer. But I would say for me, what keeps my inspiration going is I notice when I keep up my external hobbies outside of modeling, that really helps. So I partake in martial arts. I do quite a few different styles. Some are, I do Chinese swordsmanship, Kung Fu, Tai Chi, sometimes a little bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with friends, and having those networks of people can be quite fun. Also off the back of that as well, other hobbies that I enjoy doing, like I've recently got into fire performance stuff as well, and just allowing my body different forms of movement, exposure to different social circles and different environments. I find that seems to feed my creativity quite significantly, whereas before it used to be limited to consuming films and television programs, which they are definitely inspiring. That is part of the process. Absolutely. Like Arcane to me is one of my all-time favorites at the moment. But definitely having that mixture of not just exposure of artwork in its traditional forms, but it's integrating myself into the lives of others and listening to their stories, or, 2 o'clock in the morning spinning fire with a friend up the country. Like, just anything that really keeps the energy and vibes alive inside. And yeah, the ideas and inspiration just, they're forever flowing, which is really cool.
What would it be?
Anything from my childhood. What would I model?